All right, peace everyone. This is Current Events. My name is Sot. We are the foundation. Today is December 29th, 2023. We got some crazy stuff going on with these current events. A lot of stuff that we already know, but ultimately, the government, the United States government, with regards to inflation, with regards to employment, is saying one thing, and really it's looking like something else. So let's start off. What is this? We got this from Microsoft, but it's actually from Market Insider. U.S. debt will become unsustainable and trigger default in about 20 years if it stays on the current path. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but just, a couple little points. The U.S. debt will become unsustainable in about 20 years. After that, no amount of tax hikes or spending cuts could prevent default, whether explicitly or implicitly, period. An implicit default would include debt monetization that produces significant inflation. So they're talking about 20 years. You and I know that, 20 years isn't really that long of a time. The younger you are, the longer it seems. But, if you're anywhere above your 30s, 20 years is not that long. You could think back 15 years and it seems like yesterday most times. So, we'll see how this ends up. Speaking of default, we got probably about 60,000 people that might have a problem with defaults. Financial Post, banks shed 60,000 jobs in one of worst years for cuts since the financial crisis. So, this is 61,905 jobs. This is 20 of the world's biggest banks. And this is according to the Financial Times. That's a lot of people that lost their job. Well, check it out. Most of the staff reductions at global banks this year have affected less than 5% of staff. This is ridiculous. And they're talking about 5%, in my opinion, 5% of staff from all of these different banks. I don't even know if any of the banks have unions. Have you ever heard of a bank with unions? So, look, we got this thing going on. Speaking of going on, Wall Street Journal, the rise of forever renters. Americans who would traditionally be homeowners are instead renting. They're sparking new kinds of neighborhoods, changing saving patterns, and even buying different light fixtures. Yo, check this out. And we got the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab. They said a few years ago, this is pre-panorama. They were talking about how you will own nothing and you will be happy. And if you haven't heard of that, you should look that up. And the World Economic Forum, the International Monetary Fund, these guys, they push policy worldwide. All Western countries, you need to look this stuff up. You think this government is independent? It's not. So today, about 1,000 people have said they'd like to rent 32 luxury apartments built inside the factory's original walls. And this is a Scranton lace factory that closed in 2002 and sat abandoned for 2 decades. So what they're saying is they're going to redo this factory, repurpose it into luxury apartments. And you got a lot of people who are looking to rent. They can't afford to purchase a home. Even if they can afford to purchase a home, maybe it's not the right time for them. Maybe, they don't have the proper credit. That's a big thing. Some people will have the down payment. They don't have the credit. The interest rates are too high. They think, will the interest rates come down enough to refinance in a time where it can be advantageous. Millions of Americans are wondering if they'll be forever renters. In fact, 18% of millennial renters say they plan to rent forever. This is up from 11% in 2018. This is according to research from Apartment List. This is excellent news if you're a real estate investor, but not so much if you're the average American trying to buy a home. Forever renting could lead to a massive shift in the housing market for investors. It is very possible that the earning potential for real estate investors will only increase year over year. And this is what I'm saying. If you don't own right now, I would, if it were me, I would do everything in my possible power to get my hands on some properties, some real estate, single family home, a duplex, triplex, whatever. Go in with your friends, talk to your family, get serious about this, because we're going to get to a point really soon where most people aren't going to be able to afford homes. Most people aren't going to be able to afford cars. And I believe that we're going to get to a point where most people aren't going to be able to afford cell phones. I feel you're going to lease your cell phone. And I feel like, that the plan that these companies have for you to buy a new phone and you pay this money, and then in 2 years you can get the new phone, but you're paying an extra fee every month for that ability, for that option. I believe that's going to morph into phone leases. People aren't even going to own their own mobile phones. I'm dead serious. Let alone their car, let alone where they live. And I'll tell you this, the World Economic Forum, these guys want drones to drop off blenders so you can make your protein shake in the morning. You clean it out and you put it in a little box and the drone picks it up and you pay a rental fee. You don't even own your appliances. Please believe me, I'm not playing. Do your own research. What we got here? There are 6 reasons for the rise in the cost of housing: volatile shifts in mortgage rates, low housing inventory, rise in cost of building materials, gas prices, high inflation, and corporations and all cash offers. You got a lot of corporations that are buying these things. At the start of the panorama, the real estate industry saw historic low interest rates of 2.65% in January 2021, which continued until 2022 and then spiked to 5.78%. Inventory for housing couldn't keep up with demand. And then the issues with supply chain caused an increase in the cost of materials to build homes. Americans are now experiencing the highest rates of inflation in 40 years and the most expensive average gas prices across the U.S. All this has created the perfect storm for making it extremely difficult to buy a home. And people be like, what does gas prices have to do with it? I'm going to tell you this. It costs money to ship everything. I'm talking lumber. I'm talking little handles for your house that you're trying to build. I'm talking the light fixtures, your shower head, everything. It costs money to ship these things. And if gas prices are increasing, you have diesel fuel costs increasing, you have jet fuel costs increasing. And if it costs more to ship these things to you, or ship it to the store that you go get it from, or ship it to that Amazon warehouse, please believe they're going to pass those costs on to customers. It's hands down. The real estate industry has also seen a steep rise in corporations bidding on single family properties with all cash offers. These massive buyouts have priced out many Americans. The median home price has risen about 30% in the last 10 years, while incomes have only risen 11% in the same time span. These corporations are buying homes to flip into rentals and Airbnbs, which is creating an imbalance for available units to buy. How will forever renting change the industry? Number 1, impact on the economy. A housing dynamic of forever renting will have ripple effects on the economy. Home ownership is considered one of the most significant investments people make to build wealth in this country. So it's not hard to imagine someone reaching retirement age and having an added cost of rent instead of a paid off mortgage, making it more challenging to make ends meet. Pairing the current housing market with inflation will ultimately stall people's ability to save money, according to The Economist. Quote, Americans are saving less than at any point since the financial crisis, end quote. On the other hand, being a landlord will only become more lucrative. More renting will lead to increased demand for more investment properties, resulting in higher profits for real estate entrepreneurs. Wealth will tend to increase more for real estate investors versus others. And I don't care if you live in the house, you're a real estate investor. I'm serious. There's no equity in renting. There's no equity. Number two, demand for leasing agents. If the U.S. continues on an upward trajectory for renting, there is a chance we'll see an increase in leasing agents. Several skills will be in demand that leasing agents can offer to renters, such as helping renters find exclusive apartments within budget, going over leases to ensure renters get the best deal, and helping renters find rent-controlled units. In 2022, renters are competing with restricted supply and high demand, leading to upward pressure on rents. According to research from Realtor.com, last year, rent rose over 7.1%. Number three, increase in real estate digital innovation. I believe the demand for digital innovation for renting will be necessary. Unfortunately, the real estate industry has been historically slow to adopt technological changes, but with major shifts in the market, now is the time to start preparing to ensure bottom lines aren't impacted. Real estate professionals have access to a plethora of property, blah, blah, blah. Four, rentals becoming more common on multiple listing services. So MLS, most of the time you see MLS, there's just homes being sold, condos being sold, side-by-side duplexes being sold, things of that nature. You're going to see a lot more rentals on MLS. This is crazy. This is crazy. I would really, really suggest that you get with a team, whether it's your family, some friends, a little bit of both, go to entrepreneur meetings. I don't care. Do what you can to get your hands on some real estate. Moving forward, we got Real Clear Politics. Couldn't find this on any mainstream news media outlet. I wonder why. After telework surge, federal buildings still largely empty. More than 2 years after the Biden administration called on all federal agencies to create plans to bring employees who telework during the panorama back to the office, the vast majority of Washington, D.C.'s federal buildings are still sprawling expanses of empty, echoing hallways. Yo, it's like 1 billion square feet of empty commercial real estate in the United States. Imagine that. Adding to the issues, we got WQRF. This is a Rockford, Illinois little dance. Illinois population declines for the 10th straight year. We got Chicago. Oh, this is WTVO. Illinois residents left the state at a rate of 1 every 6 minutes between July 22 and July 23. According to the Illinois Policy Institute, data from the U.S. Census Bureau showed the state's population declined for the 10th year in a row, losing 32,826 residents. That's a lot. Illinois is one of the highest tax states in the country, hands down. I'm not surprised. The Illinois Policy Institute calculated that 83,839 people left the state. A poll it conducted found that 51% of residents said they would leave the state if given the opportunity, citing high taxes, crime, and the cost of living as primary reasons. Quote, despite seeing a decline from the record high losses in 2021 and 22, this is not a major victory for Illinois. The Census Bureau has estimated population decline in Illinois for the 10th consecutive year, driven almost entirely by the domestic out migration. Basically, they're just moving to another state in the United States. As the state's population ages, domestic migration will play an even larger role in population growth. End quote. This is Bryce Hill, Director of Fiscal and Economic Research at the Illinois Policy Institute. Illinois suffered the third worst population loss this year behind New York and California. We have a migration of people in America that isn't really being spoken about. And we're talking a lot of people are moving from these large New York, California, Illinois, and they're going to smaller cities, different states, more rural areas. And, not very many people are speaking on this. Moving forward, CNBC, October home prices post biggest gain of 2023. This is despite higher mortgage rates. This is the S&P Case-Shiller. Look, and this is what I'm talking about. Even though you got higher interest rates, home prices posted the biggest gain of the year in October. This is crazy. This further speaks to what I'm saying as far as, and what's being said, as far as these guys most people are not able to purchase a home. You can't purchase a home. You can't purchase a home. You're going to have to change the way you think of purchasing real estate. You're going to have to start thinking more communal. And if you don't, it's going to get too far ahead, and there's going to be so many people that will never own a home. There's going to be so many families that will never have family properties, family estates. It's going to be crazy, and I just do not look forward to this whole dance. I mean, seriously, regardless. Oh, check this out. We got this. Zero Hedge, America's growing economy, brought to you by Visa MasterCard. Mainstream financial network pundits and government officials keep telling us that the economy is chugging along because Americans continue to spend money. But it's clear that borrowing is the only thing sustaining this spending spree. Meanwhile, the resilient American consumer is drowning under a surging tidal wave of debt. Total household debt rose to $228 billion in the third quarter, setting a new record of $17.29 trillion. This is according to the latest data from the New York Federal Reserve. Surging credit card balances led the way, increasing by 4.7% to a record $1.08 trillion. That means Americans own $1.08 trillion in their credit card. Year on year, credit card debt spiked by $154 billion. That was the biggest annual increase since 1999. The bigger problem is the double whammy of rising debt and rising interest rates. Average credit card interest rates eclipsed the previous record high of 17.87% months ago. The average annual percentage APR currently stands at 20.72%. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Americans paid $130 billion in interest and fees on their credit cards over the last year. That was the largest amount on record. $130 billion just in interest on credit cards. That is a crazy market. That is crazy. I need to get into credit cards. In other words, Americans ate away $1.9 trillion in savings in just 2 years. Then they turned to credit cards. Quote, people have to deal with this somehow. After blowing through savings to buy essentials, they do what's next, find sources to borrow, end quote. This is Villanova University's finance professor, John Sidunov. According to Market Watch, quote, Americans appear to be relying more on debt to pay for their purchases. They're also using more buy now and pay later plans, end quote. New York Fed economic research advisor Dong Hoon Lee also credited the resilience of the American consumer to Visa and MasterCard. Credit card balances experienced a large jump in the third quarter, consistent with strong consumer spending and real GDP growth, end quote. Debt.com chairman Howard Vorkin told CNBC, quote, consumers are maintaining and supporting their lifestyles using credit card debt, end quote. In other words, the economic growth President Biden and others keep bragging about is merely a function of borrowing. This is not exactly indicative of a healthy economy, and it's not sustainable. And I agree. If you have credit card debt, pay it down. If you can. If you can't, don't beat yourself up. Stress it's not healthy. NPR, minimum wage workers in 22 states will be getting raises on January 1st. Those increases will affect an estimated 9.9 million workers. This is according to the Economic Policy Institute, which estimates that those bumped wages will add up to an additional $6.95 billion in pay. In addition to those 22 states, 38 cities and counties will also increase their minimum wage above state minimums on January 1st. According to the Department of Labor, 20 states will maintain the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. And according to the EPI, of the 17.6 million workers earning less than $15 an hour, Nearly half live in those 20 states that continue to stick to the federal minimum wage, which has not changed since 2009. And that's crazy. But a direct, you got cause. I just read you the cause. Now I'm about to tell you the effect. This is the Times of San Diego. Pizza Hut to lay off over 2,000 California delivery drivers ahead of wage hike. Thousands of Pizza Hut workers are facing layoffs as a result of the new law increasing the fast food minimum wage in California that goes into effect April. Pizza Hut is set to lay off more than 2,000 Southern California delivery drivers in the coming year, ahead of the new state law that boosts the fast food minimum wage by $4 to $20 per hour. This is going to usher in automation. You're going to have automatic delivery cars. Pizza delivery. Domino's already has them. You can do your research. Domino's already has them. But this is going to be a chain reaction. And you're going to see a lot of businesses in these states, these 22 states and 33 cities, that are going to be laying off people. The business cannot sustain that wage increase. They can't. They will go under. They will go out of business. Speaking of go out of business, this is today.com. Burger King will close up to 400 stores by the end of the year. The popular fast food chain Burger King plans to close up to 400 restaurants before the end of 2023, Today.com confirmed. This week, the CEO of Restaurant Brands International Incorporation, which owns Burger King, said they are preparing to close between 300 and 400 locations. If you like Burger King, it's a wrap for them. The CEO, Joshua Kobza, said in a call announcing Q1 earnings results that the company historically closes a couple hundred Burger King restaurants each year. I've noticed that. I've definitely noticed that. I like Burger King's, their French fries. I don't like McDonald's. And when I do want some French fries on a rare occasion, from the fast food joint, I like to go to Burger King, but you can't find them no more. So far this year, several large Burger King franchisees have filed for bankruptcy. Illinois-based Tom's King, Michigan-based EYM King, and Utah-based Meridian Restaurants Unlimited included. According to a Restaurant Brands International release announcing the earnings of 124 Burger Kings have already shuttered this year, bringing the total number in the United States to fewer than 7,000. It's crazy. You're witnessing a remarkable shift in the commercial landscape of the United States. CNBC, Nike Foot Locker shares sink after athletic apparel maker cuts revenue outlook. People aren't buying. Nike shares plunged after the athletic apparel maker cut its revenue outlook for fiscal year, with sneaker retailer Foot Locker also feeling the blow. Nike closed down more than 11%, Foot Locker, which relies heavily on Nike products in its stores, closed down nearly 4%. It was Nike's worst day since September 30th, 2022. Nike, in its earnings report, said that the company now expects its revenue to grow only 1% for the fiscal year, down from prior outlook of mid-single-digit growth, so like 5 or 6%. The company also said it was going to cut costs of upward of $2 billion over the next 3 years. They're going to be getting laid off. People are going to be getting laid off. More people are getting laid off. FedEx shares tumbled 12% after weaker demand hit revenue outlook. Less purchasing, less shipping, less consumerism. The company said it expects low to single digit decline in revenue for the fiscal year, down from a previous forecast that was flat. Analysts had expected a revenue drop of less than 1%. Well, 12% is not less than 1%. It's the second consecutive quarter FedEx has lowered its sales outlook. Moving forward, new U.S. jobless claims rise again as labor market cools. The number of Americans filing initial claims from unemployment benefits rose last week, indicating the labor market continues to cool in the year's fourth quarter. And listen, I like how they tell you filing initial claims, because they only count initial claims. So when they tell you unemployment numbers, they're not talking about people who are employed but no longer receive unemployment. They're just talking about the filings for the claims. And they'll say, oh, we only had these many filings for unemployment claims this week or this month. But these are new filings. They're not including those who are old, who filed the previous month or so and are still getting unemployment, or those who no longer receive unemployment and they don't have a job. New state unemployment benefit claims rose by 12,000 last week to 218,000. So they're saying this is 218,000. So it rose by 12,000. So you can easily say that you got 206,000 average initial unemployment claims a week. That's getting close to 250,000. That's getting close to 250,000. Wayfair CEO says employees need to work longer hours and expect long hours and blending work and life. They want you to answer the phone when you're not at work, basically. Wayfair is profitable once again and back to winning. Its CEO and co-founder, Niraj Shah, told employees in an email obtained by Business Insider, but employees should expect to work long hours and think of any company money you spend as your own, Shah wrote. While the company is back in the green and repeat customers are up, Shah cautioned employees that, quote, winning takes hard work, end quote, and they should be frugal about spending and open to working longer hours. Quote, working long hours, being responsive, blending work and life is not anything to shy away from. There is not a lot of history of laziness being rewarded with success, end quote. To emphasize the point, Shah said he was concerned to have heard of some outdated or inaccurate neologisms or phrases that begin with Niraj said, quote, the one I would reference here that I heard was Niraj said that he does not think that we should work late. I would suggest that this is laughably false, the CEO wrote. Hard work is essential for success and a key part of getting things done. Everyone deserves to have a great personal life. Everyone manages that in their own way. Ambitious people find ways to blend and balance the two. Employees should treat company spending as their own and negotiate costs to get the best deal possible, Shah wrote. Basically, if you think this is the only CEO thinking that employees should work longer hours and blend work life and personal life more, you should probably do some more research, because as I said, how many of y'all have to take calls after you're punched out? Work-related calls. How many of y'all have to respond to work-related emails after you punch out? How many of y'all actually do work after you punch out that is necessary for the next day or the next week? It's just going to get worse. Do you suffer from FOBO? Here's how to handle it. And this is Forbes. The robots are coming. Generative AI is infiltrating the workplace at warp speed, and it's enough to give even the savviest and most confident professionals a serious case of FOBO. FOBO, or the fear of becoming obsolete, is surging. 22% of U.S. workers now worry that new technology will render their roles obsolete. That's a 7-point spike since 2021. This is according to a Gallup study. The anxiety is understandable. Groundbreaking generative AI such as ChatGPT and Claude can mimic human capabilities with lightning speed. Historically, when technology was introduced to the workplace, it was more likely to replace people who worked on assembly lines. But artificial intelligence is much more likely to impact people who work in cubicles or from their home offices. Quote, workers with a bachelor's degree or higher are more than twice as likely as those with only a high school diploma to see the most impact, end quote. So what are they saying? If you got a bachelor's degree or higher, you're more than twice as likely to be impacted by technology, artificial intelligence, possibly losing your job. Quote, AI will eventually create a situation where no job is needed, end quote. AI will create a situation where no job is needed. Think about that. If you can't go get a job, you're going to need universal basic income. Universal basic income is just that, basic income. If you get basic income, you can't afford to own anything. You can't afford to start a business. You are stuck. And this is where we are going. And I think this is something that we need to pay attention to. Speaking of Cali Express by Flippy. I don't know if y'all know or remember, a few years ago, I talked about this robot, Flippy. Flippy, the burger flipping robot. And I'm like, yo, here it comes. So here it is, Cali Express by Flippy. Wagyu burgers for the price of traditional burgers. Robot made burgers and fries. Cali Express by Flippy serves freshly made Wagyu blend burgers at prices competitive with other premium burgers using standard meat. Uniquely, the grill robot grinds the high quality beef in real time after the order is placed, resulting in a burger patty that melts in the mouth. Flippy, the famous robotic fry station, cooks up crispy hot fries made from top grade potatoes, always to exact times. Our simple menu has burgers, cheeseburgers, and french fries. Pioneering restaurant automation. Cali Express by Flippy is the world's first fully autonomous restaurant. Utilizing the most advanced systems in food technology, both the grill and fry stations are fully automated, powered by leading edge artificial intelligence and robotics. Guests watch their food being cooked robotically after using self-ordering kiosks to get personalized order recommendations and make easy and fast payments. The new Cali Express by Flippy restaurant is located in the beautiful downtown Pasadena, California. Here it comes. Here it is. You can go to a burger spot right now in Pasadena, California, and there is no humans working there. There might be an IT guy in the back or on call. And I'm sure they got to stock, all of the French fries and burgers and buns and lettuce and tomatoes and pickles and, they probably do that in the morning. Or, might have a night shift guy come in at night and take an hour and restock everything and then go, wipe down the place and then go home. What would traditionally take, I would say, 10 to 12 employees on a scheduled rotation every 2 weeks will now take 1 or 2. And once this gets going, think about it. A lot of people had their first job was at a fast food spot, McDonald's or Dairy Queen or something of that nature. Those days are on the way out. Last but not least, CNBC Vans owner VF Corp shares tumble as it says cyber attack could hamper holiday fulfillment. Cyber attacks. Am I the only one that is noticing all of this news about cyber attacks? And this is what I'll say. A cyber attack hitting a bank would be bad, especially if you didn't have any cash. Especially if you didn't have any cash. And if you did have cash, when you do have cash, it would be more advantageous to have them in lower denominations, 5s and 1s, I would say. Because, a cyber attack hitting the banking system, if you live in, colder climates, a cyber attack hitting the power grid. Those of you in Texas, y'all remember a couple years ago, it was an ice storm. People lost power. Some people froze to death in Texas, man. So, the potential for cyber attacks are absolutely real. And, I think, when it comes to the bank, I think, a policy of everyone should be to have, cash set aside just in case you don't have access to your bank account. You got to get gas in your whip. You got to get some foods for the fam. We don't, you never know. And, things are getting weirder and weirder and weirder. But, take care of yourself, prepare. These current events are so you know what's going on, not to scare you, have you all frightened and scared and fragile and frail and cold and frightened. This is so you can make moves. This is so that you can prepare. Knowledge is the dispeller of fear. Action is the dispeller of horrible, horrible opportunities. Or not opportunities, but situations. And I guess opportunities. You say the same thing. But, stay informed, keep your eyes open, and stay active. Y'all take care of yourself. Have a great week. Enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. Make sure you say 10 things that you're thankful for tonight and every night because it's very important. Make sure you check out welcometothefoundation.com. We got a lot of stuff going on. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate all the support. Y'all have a luxurious day. Peace.